Hey friends, last week I hosted my very first optimized sales page challenge, as well as opening the doors to the optimized online community. In this podcast, I'll be sharing some key takeaways from my beta launch. You're listening to the Optimized Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Barnes. I'm a customer journey marketing strategist, and I help you maximize sales by optimizing the customer experience. Doing a beta launch is critical to the validation process of your product. You won't know what works and what doesn't work until you kind of test it out first. As much as we would love everything to be perfect right out of the gate, that is not necessarily the reality. A beta launch is going to be messy, it's going to be a little bit unrefined, and you need to be okay with that. One of the things that you want to acknowledge straight out of the gate is that it's not about getting a lot of customers. Now, we want to get people in there, and we need to get people in there in order to kind of see how the entire launch process works, but it's not about getting a ton of customers right out of the gate. If you go into this with the mindset that you're going to make a bunch of money and you're going to see a lot of profit, you're going to be disappointed. Now, there are a few exceptions where people do make money right out of the gate, but these are exceptions and not the rule. During my very first K-pop event, I actually went in the hole a few $100s, but I knew that I had to get in the hole a little bit in order to make the initial run of this little K-pop event. I actually had an event planned for June, and this one was going to be huge with hundreds and hundreds of people and tons of vendors and a lot of logistics. I didn't want to go into that event not having done a dry run first. So that's what the initial beta version of these K-pop events was all about. It was about doing the dry run first so that I would get used to doing the motions, doing the promotions and everything like that. And when the time came for the main event, I was ready. For the June event, thankfully, I was able to not only break even for that event, but I also recouped all of the cost for the event before. And then by the time we got around to our third event, we were finally turning a profit. The second lesson when it comes to doing a beta launch is that it's all about seeing the gaps in your launch. Now, you may have a cup, imagine you have a cup, and there's a bunch of tiny little holes in it, but you don't know where all the holes are until you fill that cup with water. It's not until you start doing the launch, start doing the work, that you're going to see all of the gaps that need to be filled in. And during a beta, it's not so bad because, well, it's a beta. And two, once you start seeing those holes, you can fill in those gaps for the next time. Having done a dry run of this launch, I have a much better idea of what I need to do next time. I can see where I need to be sending out more emails. I see where I could be adding in more things to make the challenge more fun and interesting. And all of this, I'll make sure to incorporate in the next version of our challenge. The other benefit to doing a dry run is that it allows you to create assets that you can reuse the next time. Obviously, you're going to want to change the dates on it and maybe improve upon them a little, but you have at least a basic framework to work with, as well as some pre-existing assets where all you have to do is update it, or if it's perfectly fine, you can just reuse them again. Another takeaway that when it comes to launching is that you'll never feel truly ready. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it before, even if you're on your 10th, 20th, 30th launch, it's still going to feel like you're not ready. Now, if you've never launched before, you can still relate to the feeling of not being truly ready. So if you've ever hosted any kind of event, a birthday party, a potluck, anything like that, you'll always feel like you're missing something. So it's at the end of the day, you're always like, oh, I should have had more food, or I should have had more this or that. You'll always feel like there's more that you can add, but it's okay because at the end of the day, the guests typically had a ton of fun, and that's really, really all that matters. At the end of the challenge, there were some people that said that they enjoyed the challenge. They actually watched the content and said that they learned from it. Even though I wanted to add a whole many, much more things inside of the challenge, people still enjoyed it. They still got a lot of value from it. And even though I felt like there was a lot more that I could have done, it was enough to get the content out there and help the people inside of the group. The fourth lesson when it comes to doing a beta launch is to be accountable to somebody other than yourself. By setting hard dates on this challenge, by letting people know exactly when the challenge was going to be, I had a commitment to show up during those specific dates. In addition to my audience and the people I told on my email list as well as Instagram, I also had a couple of different accountability groups that I was in, and they all knew that I was launching. So they had eyes on me when it came time for me to do this launch. They were all cheering for me and rooting for me. And I felt like if I didn't launch, I would be a disappointment to them. Now, really, it doesn't really matter if they're disappointed or not. They're more likely going to cheer me on and say, don't worry, you can do it. But just going back to the groups and being able to say, I did it, look at me, I did it, that is such a good feeling. And that's part of the reason why I continued to push through the launch, even though there was a whole bunch of other things happening at the time. I'll talk about that a little bit later in this podcast. All right, the fifth takeaway of beta launching is the more you do it, the better it gets. Now, I know this is the initial beta version of this particular launch, but during my K-pop event era, or whatever you want to call it, the more we ran those events, the easier it got, because we started to form this rhythm of like, this works the best. And so we're going to continue to do this, or we'll realize that something isn't quite working. We'll change it up. And so the next time we do it, it's a lot better. So the more you keep launching, the more you run these workshops, the more you continue to show up in front of your audience, the better it's going to get. So during our K-pop events, one of the things that we realized was causing a backlog was the random dance play or random play dance. I don't know, those two words always get interchanged, but basically it's a time where a bunch of people come together and do the different dances for the song. So in K-pop, they all have a little dance challenge for each song, and there's a bit of choreography that you learn. Now, during the random play dance, what you would do is if you knew the song, you would hop in and dance to it, and the song would change like every minute or so. Anyways, these were super, super popular during our events. What we didn't realize is how it attracted such a big crowd and created a traffic issue. What I initially thought was that the random play dance was just a nice little add-on to the event. What I didn't know was that it is a huge deal for a lot of people. It is like the highlight of the event whenever they come to our little K-pop events. They line up and they join for the full 60 minutes of dance, and there's a ton of people, and by the time the random play dance ends, they're all back in line to go get their boba drink, and this is where that kind of backlog happened. So for future events, we've learned from that, and we learned to manage traffic. We let everyone know that it is going to be a much longer wait after the random play dance, so you can decide to either get your drink before or kind of sign up for VIP so you're not getting stuck into that bottleneck. But at the very least, we learned our lesson from that, and we learned to plan accordingly. This is one of those situations where you don't know what you don't know. So you need to do that dry run. You need to do that beta in order to figure out exactly where those kinks are in your launch, and then you can improve on those on the next iteration. Number 6 is a big one. Number 6, the lesson here is that stuff always comes up during your launch. Always. Just prepare for it. Just be ready. Life likes to show up when you're doing other things. If you've been in the online space for some time, you'll notice that when people have launches, stuff likes to come up. Life happens, car issues, sicknesses, illnesses, all of the things. One of the things that I was dealing with was 2 things. One of them I'm still trying to figure out. The first one is I had car issues. There was something wrong with my tires. I had to get it taken to the dealership to get it figure out what was happening. Thankfully, everything with the car is fine and good now. But it just happened to happen when I was in the middle of a launch. I'm like, this is the last thing I need to do right now. I need to be filming content, creating content for this launch. I had to take out a whole half a day just to get the car issue resolved. My particular car issue is actually relatively minor compared to some of the things that I've heard. I've heard stories. They're not mine to tell, but I've heard some stories, and the car thing was actually pretty mild. But I said I was going through a second thing, that it's still ongoing, and it has been ongoing for almost a year. I'm dealing with issues with healthcare right now. They're not covering some of the basic doctor visits that I had, and they're asking me to pay and cover those doctor visits because there's a whole paperwork, bureaucratic nightmare going on behind the scenes that is very, very difficult to explain. But that pressure to pay a doctor's bill that's really expensive and having to deal with that, it's a lot of stress, just dealing with the healthcare companies. Now, the thing is, it's not that I can't afford the doctor's bills. I could totally pay it off right now if I wanted, but the principle of it is that I paid for the insurance and they decided not to cover. So thank you, United Healthcare, for this absolute nightmare. The moral of the story is that stuff is always going to come up. It's like The universe doesn't like shifts. And when you're doing a launch, you're making a major shift. So it's going to push back against you to kind of keep the status quo. But no, you're trying to grow, you're trying to build a business. So you are making some big shifts and you're going to get some what I call universal pushback. So you need to be strong enough to get through it. Now, I understand needing to reschedule some things if you really truly are sick and bedridden. But for the most part, you're going to need to learn to get through it. That's because this is just what happens in a launch. It just is. It's the nature of the beast, honestly. And so you're going to need to learn to be strong enough to get through these things. You're going to need to know and understand and anticipate that stuff is going to come up. So one of the things that you're going to want to do is create a little bit of white space during your launch. Don't fill up your entire day with a bunch of other things. Don't be scheduling doctor's appointments or anything like that during this week. Keep this week open, keep it simple, and have a lot of white space so that you have the energy to put yourself into the launch when you need it. And when stuff comes up, you have a little bit of breathing room there to take care of life stuff. All right, so my last and final takeaway, this is number 7, is that you can do it alone, but it's a lot easier to do it with others. If you have an accountability group, let them know that you're launching. Have them cheer you on. If you have friends and family, let them know so that they can cheer you on. And just a side note with friends and family, make sure to tell people who are truly going to support you. That way you can reserve your space and energy for those that truly matter. I am so grateful to my accountability group for being there for me during my launch and cheering me on. If you're in my group, a shout out to all of you. I appreciate you. And I'm just so grateful that you were able to join me for this journey. Now, if you don't have an accountability group and you want a place to join a group of people that's going to cheer you on, I'd love to invite you inside of the Optimize Online community. Now, I don't teach launching specifically. However, what I do inside of this group is I make sure that you get actionable feedback and guidance on any of your marketing assets, whether that's a sales page, a landing page, email sequence, whatever it is. You can pop that inside of the group and I will share my personal feedback with you. This way you'll get feedback on your content and you'll actually get individual tailored feedback so that you're not just getting generic information that applies to a whole group of people, but you're getting information that applies specifically to you. The second part of this is all about setting goals and watching them come to life. So every month we'll have a progress report where you'll come in, you'll check in, you'll let us know where you are right now and where you want to be. This is going to help you stay on track to meet the goals that you want to reach. The more that you put yourself out there, the more that you tell other people what it is that you're up to, the more likely you're going to follow through with some of those actions. And what we'll do is we'll actually break down some of those goals that you have. We'll look at it and we'll develop an action plan together so that you can meet those goals in a timely manner. So if you're ready to get off the sidelines and start seeing real results in your business, I invite you to join me inside of the Optimize Online community. Now, the membership is in beta, but this is going to be the most you will ever get individualized attention from me. From April, May, and June, we're going to have some hot seats. We're going to have some individual coaching. And because the group is so small right now, you're going to get a lot more individualized attention than you will at any time that we have this group. The Optimized Online community was intended to be a high touch membership similar to group coaching. Now, unlike group coaching, there's no specific beginning or end. You just hop in whenever you need and you can hop out and cancel anytime. The initial idea for the hot seat coaching was that we're going to have 7 to 10 minutes of coaching per person in the group to kind of make sure that everyone gets their questions answered. Now, during the beta, there's probably only going to be 3 or 4 people during the call, and sometimes there may only be 1. If that's the case, you get the entire hour to yourself. So I'm not going to be able to offer my full undivided attention as much as you're going to get it now, because once this beta ends, we're going to start inviting a lot more people inside of this community and you're going to get a lot less time. Now, it will still be valuable if you're listening to this later and you're like, man, I missed out on the beta. Don't worry. It's still going to be super valuable. We're just going to condense that down a little bit to 7 to 10 minutes so everyone gets a chance. Now, if you're on the fence about this and you're like, I am not entirely sure, I don't know enough about you yet to make this financial commitment. And trust me, the financial commitment right now is super low. I'm not going to tell you the price on the podcast. Go check it out at optimizeonlinecommunity.com. But the financial commitment is really, really low. And what I'm offering here is a total no-brainer for the amount of value that you're going to get. But if you decide this is not for me, if you go to the group coaching calls, if you ask for feedback and you don't get what you're looking for, you can totally get your money back. There's a 14-day money back guarantee. No questions asked. Just let us know this is not for you and you'll get your money back. Also, the doors to Optimize Online Community will be closing as of the end of day, April 7th. And this is not a false scarcity thing. I'm not trying to trick you into purchasing before April 7th, but I'm just letting you know that I am not exactly sure when I'm going to be reopening the doors, but it's going to look like somewhere around July of 2025. The reason for this is I want to make sure that all of the beta members who are in the group right now, they get my full attention for the first 3 months, so April, May, June. You'll get my attention for the entirety of the beta. June, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different because I am going to Korea, but I'll still make sure you get the support you need. But basically, I want to make sure that those 3 months are entirely for the beta members. I'm not working on onboarding new students during this time. Once the doors reopen later in July or August or whenever I decide to reopen them, we'll have an open door model. But for now, we're going to be closing the doors on April 7th. So make sure you get in there. If you happen to be listening to this later, you can still get on the waitlist. You can just go straight to Optimize Online Community. If the doors are closed, it'll take you straight to the waitlist. But if you're listening to this before April 7th, I highly recommend that you get in right now because this is going to be the best time to be inside of the membership. So go ahead, sign up. I look forward to seeing you inside of the Optimize Online community. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you on the next one.